Mother Jews are Jewish, are they not? Part 9. So now we have to study Rabbeinu Tam, Tosafot, and I invite you to read this and try to understand it. I think it's quite challenging. I will try to give my own interpretation of what I think Rabbeinu Tam is saying in this part. It's 2 parts, a smaller part and a larger part, wider part here under. And Rabbeinu Tam is making 3 points as far as I understand. The first point is that he says, when he disagrees with Rashi, and he states, Ki yasir hachoten et bincha, for he, the father-in-law, will turn away your son. And we can see it here. Ki yasir hachoten et bincha, shehu chatno. For he will turn away, for he, the father-in-law, will turn away your son. So this is point 1. The part here is where he explains what Rashi is saying, and then here he gives his own opinion, and he says, no, it is the father-in-law and not the son-in-law. So this is part 1 of Rabbeinu Tam explanation. And then he makes a second point, and the second point is that it is not written Ki yasirem or ki yasir et zaracha, for he will turn them away or will turn away your offspring. It says Ki yasir et bincha, but not Ki yasirem or ki yasir et zaracha. And what is he saying there? And Rabbeinu Tam concludes that the Torah is not worried about the son of the Jewish father and the non-Jewish mother, the father Jew, and that is the reason that the father Jew is not considered Jewish. So, to try to explain, the sentence is Ki yasir et bincha mi'acharai. So the non-Jewish father-in-law will turn your son, who is married to the non-Jewish woman, will turn away your son from following God. And because the Torah is not saying anything about a child of this marriage, of your son, of the Jewish son, with the non-Jewish female, the father Jew, because the Torah is not saying anything about it, Rabbeinu Tam concludes that is the reason that the father Jew is not considered Jewish. And then he goes to the third part of his reasoning, and that is found here. And he says the following: Bitcha lo titein livno ki yasir et bitcha. It is not written, he says, Ki yasir et bitcha me'acharai, for he will turn your daughter away from following me. He says, there is written Ki yasir et bincha, but there is not written Ki yasir et bitcha or Ki yasir et bincha vebitcha. And now, how does Rabbeinu Tam arrive to the conclusion that the mother Jew, the child of your daughter with the non-Jew, is considered Jewish? And then he looks at what's written in the Pasuk and what's not written in the following way. Written is, for he will turn your son away, Ki yasir et bincha. Not written is, for he will turn the offspring of your son away. So, Zaracha. Nothing is written about that, so the offspring is not Jewish. The offspring from the father Jew. Then he says, also is not written, for he will turn your daughter away. Ki yasir et bitcha. It is written ki yasir et bincha, but it is not written ki yasir et bitcha, or ki yasir et bincha vebitcha. And therefore, a contrario, the offspring of the daughter is Jewish. Again, this is not my meaning, this is not my opinion, this is the, as far as I can understand, Rabbeinu Tam explanation. So we can look at this way. Rabbeinu Tam says, it is written, the Pasuk says, for he will turn your son away. And his conclusion, as we saw, was in the end that the child of your son with the non-Jewish daughter, so that's a father Jew, the offspring is not Jewish. And then he mirrors it and he says, it is not written, for he will turn your daughter away. The daughter, your daughter, the Jewish daughter, who is married with the non-Jew, the mother Jew, we will call her, that's this child. And the conclusion then is mirrored. And where the father Jew, the conclusion is the offspring is not Jewish, the conclusion with the mother Jew, according to Rabbeinu Tam, is that the offspring is Jewish. But this is a very unlikely explanation, and also Rabbeinu Yitzchak says here, Kashile Rabbeinu Yitzchak. In the end of Tosafot, it says, this is very difficult to understand for Rabbeinu Yitzchak, and as far as I'm concerned, it's not only an unlikely argument by Rabbeinu Tam, but there's also a big flaw, because, as Rabbeinu Yitzchak puts it in the Tosafot, for he will turn away speaks of the removal of God's fear, Yirat Shamayim. And does Rabbeinu Tam really think that the Torah is only worried that your son will be turned away from God, but that the Torah is not worried about your daughter, who is married to the idol worshipper, who lives with the parents-in-law who are idol worshippers, that she will not be turned away from following God? This is very unlikely. Comments or questions, please send them to motherjew1@gmail.com.